You guys let me know when you can see and hear me. Both, Brian. All good? All right. Kristi's going to attempt to get situated in her spot without bumping any of the equipment.
No promises.
No promises. Good morning. Loud and clear. All right. Love it. Awesome, awesome. Hope everyone's having a good, was it Friday? Thought we'd go live today. Bump, bump, bump. I just saw this comment come in. Just purchased a new home. I've been following your channel for 3 to 4 years now. Your recent videos have been great help. That makes me so happy. Makes me so happy. I'm really grateful that so many people have been tuning into the last 2 or 3 videos. Some of the new content and slightly different format of everything. So yeah, I'm glad that you guys are liking it because they're a lot of fun to produce. Let's see. I'm gonna go ahead and minimize this so I can focus on the conversation.
Oh, I see you're showing off the new hotness.
The new hotness?
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't feel like moving them after they took so long to get installed. So yes, those are the BioLab 50s in the background over my shoulder here. They finally arrived Wednesday. Yeah, it was Wednesday. They arrived Wednesday. And so, yeah, they've only been here for 2 days. I wasn't about to move them out of the shot to keep them a secret. If you follow me on Instagram, you saw Wednesday night, I posted a teaser. So yeah, so far impressive, very impressive. But I will have to move them this coming week, Thursday this coming week, because a review that I never thought would happen, ever, it's happening. It's happening. And so we're going to have like a kind of a, call it a, I don't want to say bucket list, but a pretty awesome summer, I think. We're going to have some bucket list, topics and reviews, coming up. And I think I'm really excited. It's also been the reason why our production schedule has been so goofy, along with, the family stuff has been so goofy, is so many things have been delayed. Like, I know that's been bugging you a lot, Kristi, in that it's like something's coming and then it's not, and then something shows up, but we don't have all the parts for it. And so,
Or it doesn't work.
Or it doesn't work. And so we're troubleshooting that. So hopefully in the next 2 or 3 weeks, everything smooths out and we can finally get to the slate of great stuff that we have lined up for you all. But it did start on Wednesday with these guys finally arriving. So
Spoiler alert, they're amazing.
yeah, they well, you said something the other day. It was yesterday. You said something yesterday. We were listening to Apple Music of all things, and you just kind of turned to me and you're like, are they better than the 90s? And I was like, they might be.
Well, no, I said I like them better.
You like them better than the 90s, yeah. Yeah, so they're pretty good. Someone likes my hair.
Yeah, Mel, I'm going to drop you a link to what he uses.
Oh, that's right. Another thing that I finally got my hands on. You would never think that a hair paste, is that what you would call it? A hair paste?
Yeah, hair product.
Hair product. It took weeks to come in stock.
Well, it goes in and out of stock.
Mm-hmm.
it's sold out quite often, but I happened to be on Amazon and it was in stock, so we ordered it, and I even use it. And it's,
You do?
yeah,
Oh, I didn't know that.
yeah, it's the real deal. As soon as I find the stupid link for it, I'll drop it so people can check it out.
Yeah. So let's see. Did I miss any questions here? Sounding good. So yeah, the BioLab 50s, that's the first reveal. I'm going to save the next reveal. I'm going to save Thursday's reveal for later. I'm not going to tease it. One person knows what it is. Don't spoil it, Vadim. Don't spoil it.
What are you talking about?
Vadim already knows what's coming this week.
Oh, okay.
Because he got a hold of my macaroni and cheese recipe, made it for his family the other night, and apparently I'm a hero. So, anyway, my beard looks good. Well, thank you. I tried to clean up for the live stream.
He did. His words were, "I'm going to go make myself camera ready."
You want to know something? Speaking of camera ready, someone left me a comment this week. I don't know if it may have gotten filtered out by the YouTube bots. I'm not sure, but I saw it. And someone asked me in the comments, they were like, how do you make yourself look more presentable and thinner in your videos? But then when I showed you all like behind the scenes B-roll, they were like, you're so much fatter. And I was like, what? Turns out that B-roll stuff that you saw or that was in the last video was like from 2-3 years ago. And so I was trying to figure out how to respond to this person, because on the one hand, I was offended and I'm like, well, that's rude. But on the other hand, I was like, well, at least he kind of is recognizing the fact that I've prioritized my health lately. But yeah, it was like, you're so much fatter in your B-roll. What lens or whatever are you using to skinny yourself up in your A camera? And I'm like, so anyway. I thought that was funny.
Just someone that doesn't know any better.
Yeah.
There's a lot of that out there.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of that.
I'm going to start. I see now I'm missing a couple of questions here. So I'm going to start with this question, because this one is something that I get a lot of comments about. Fillmore writes, you ever wanted to make your own speakers? And the answer to that question is, I've never wanted to physically make my own speakers, like tool around in the wood shop or whatever to make my own speakers. But I have wanted to design my own speakers or take an existing speaker and reimagine it with the help of people that are way smarter than me and way more skilled than me in craftsmanship. So I have wanted to do that. And I hope someday that I get that opportunity to do that. The problem that I have with that, not the problem that I have, but what I run into or what I think might be a conflict of interest if I were to ever do that, is that I don't know how you go on to then critique other people's products when you yourself are in the quote game, so to speak. Even if it's just cosmetic, and you didn't actually sit down and be like, oh, I want to tweak this, I want to tweak that. I just want to bump up the finish. I want it to look different. I want the user experience to be different. I just think that gets into murky waters. Not to say that I don't have hopes to someday be able to do an edition of something. I just think that if I ever get to that point, I'll probably have to divest, or whatever the word is, a portion of what I do on this channel away from that kind of content going forward and focusing more on the development of things, if that makes any sense. And then just being able to bring you guys along for the development of those things, less, review content, which could be really fun. So if there's ever a time where I truly am getting to that point where it's like, I don't really want to review anything anymore. I just want to create stuff. Then you might see that from me. But right now, I don't have any plans to do that. And right now, no one's approached me to do that. At least no one that is on my bucket list of brands that I want to work with. So James writes, "Hi guys, I'm limited to up firing Atmos. If I copy your 5.1.2 setup, worth it or a waste? I do have nice flat ceilings at least and 5.1 right now." Upward fire. Okay, so let me think about this. So you have 5.1 now. Now the video that we just put out was on wall speakers. And so I'm not aware, this doesn't mean that they don't exist, but I'm not aware of on-wall speakers, true on-wall speakers. Bless you. You good?
Sorry about that.
No, you're fine.
Sorry about that.
I'm not aware of true on-wall speakers, you know, the ones that are more thin profile, that have upward firing Atmos drivers, apart from, say, the type of speakers like the Sony Theater Quad and more of those lifestyle, quote, lifestyle products. If they exist, please let me know or let Kristi know in the comments. But nothing off the top of my head is coming to me. So you may end up with like a Franken rig. Will it work? I don't know. Okay, let me back that up. Will it work? It should, but I can't definitively say this is what you need to do. And yes, because that is not something I have ever attempted to try, which is on wall upward firing, blah, blah, blah. Now, if you're referring to our video from a couple of months ago, which was small space home theater, where we used ELAC bookshelves in a 5.1, you can absolutely use upward firing Atmos speakers. In fact, ELAC makes matching ceiling reflective speakers. And I do find, as long as your ceiling isn't too high, 8 to 12 feet max and relatively level, I find that they actually do kind of work. They're not as good as true dedicated overhead speakers, but they're better than nothing. And so if that's what you're talking about, yes.
James has 5.1 Bowers speakers. Not going to be mounting them on the wall. More copying the idea of the 5.1.2 than the actual speaker configuration.
Oh. Yeah, I mean, if you can, ideally you want them kind of in between you and the front speakers, but if you don't have that capability, you can add, the upward firing will work. I know you said you weren't going to mount, but you could mount upward firing Atmos channels on the wall in the front of your room and have them point down. A lot of them are wedge shaped like that so that they can have that downward rake towards your seating position. You can do that as well. So that's what I got. Let's see. Tommy, oh my God, thanks. Got me a pair of SVS Titans, and even though I have the 702 S2 signatures, I'm just changing banana cables when I want. I love them. They sound awesome. Thank you for the encouragement and knowledge. I'm so glad that you're happy with them. The Titans are an amazing speaker. I get that not every speaker is going to be the perfect solution for everybody, but if you get a chance to hear them, or you tend to like a little bit more of a large, dynamic, but still balanced and coherent sound, for whatever they are now, $4,000 a pair, $3,000 a pair, they're really hard to beat. Like we've said on numerous live streams, they're a couple of finish options away from being in the conversation alongside much, much costlier players. Not that their performance isn't already there. It's just, like your signatures. Those are beautiful speakers. They really are. And from a visual standpoint out in a room, they have a presence that isn't just related to their physicality the way the Titans have a presence. And so if the Titans blended, say B&W's aesthetic or finish, or Focal's finish, or Sonus Faber's finish, with what they're doing acoustically with the Titans and the whole new Evolution line. Oh, bring it on. Bring it on. Kai, maybe Kristi can answer this one. Will you be getting the Samsung Q990F soundbar for review?
Kai, we were offered the soundbar and one of their TVs. I just signed a loan agreement yesterday. So really it just depends on what their availability and shipping schedules are. But I assume at some point it will be here.
Yeah. David, hey guys, how do I get Dirac Live into my system without changing my integrated amp or my streamer? Your channel is amazing, by the way. David, if you don't mind, can you tell me what integrated amp you have, since I know you just left this comment? We're going to hold 30 seconds for David to find out what his integrated amp is. So while we're waiting on that, because the reason I ask is depending on your integrated, it could be incredibly easy, could be a little bit more difficult. So I would need to know what that is. And I'm watching here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm watching here. Did David bounce?
I don't know.
David. So just me.
No, he's still
here?
He's still here, but
Oh, he threaded a comment, but I can't see it.
no, that's me.
That's you? Oh,
him
okay.
Thank you for supporting the channel.
Got it. Okay. Well, Just Me has my go-to recommendation, and that is a mini DSP device. Mini DSP, you could, again, if you have, say, like an audio lab that has preamp outs as well as a preamp in, or do they call it preamp in or do they call it line in? I can't remember. But it's basically a processor loop on their integrated, and that makes it super easy to integrate a mini DSP box with Dirac built in. And that's how I've done it many, many times. Because you have an integrated amp, it's, I don't know, it's difficult because we could do Dirac in a mini DSP to like one or two sources, but if you wanted it for everything plugged into the integrated amp, that becomes a little bit more difficult. But the mini DSP is how I would do it. And
you still on David's
Yes.
question? Okay, David wrote Hagel integrated amp and a WIM
Ultra. Okay, I'm not familiar with Hagel integrated amps. So if it has a preamp out and a processor loop in, you could include a mini DSP that way. And then everything that you run into the Hagel should have Dirac applied. If you use a mini DSP in between your sources and your Hagel, i.e., let's say you plug your WIM using optical cable into the mini DSP, SHD, or I think you'd have to use an SHD or one of their new products. You go optical from your WIM into the mini DSP, so you're keeping the signal digital. You would run Dirac in the mini DSP and then go out of that into your Hagel. Your WIM would then have Dirac applied to it. But if you plug something directly into the Hagel without, just for example, again, I'm not familiar with this particular integrated. Let's say you went with a turntable directly into the Hagel. That would not have Dirac applied to it, if that makes sense. But that's how you would do it. That's how you would do it. Hopefully that was helpful. And I appreciate the support. Happy Friday. I got a 4th gen A9 off Facebook Marketplace, and I love it. I see that you use Biolab 8s in stereo. Do you miss the low end of the A9 when using the 8s? Would you get a sub for them? You know, to be honest with you, the 8s are surprisingly good in the bass department. Are they subwoofer-esque? No. But they actually have more bass in room, and this is not even me subjectively speaking, this is objectively speaking. They had more bass in room than the Sonus Faber, concertinos that we just reviewed that were beautiful, great speakers, super easy to listen to, but not what I would call bass rich. The 8s have more bass presence than them. They had more bass presence than the Technics bookshelf speakers. So as far as a small stand-mounted powered speaker goes, I'm really impressed by the 8s. Do the 9s have more bass? Oh yeah, for sure. But I don't know if I would necessarily always feel the need to add a sub to the 8s. I think if I wanted the 8s to truly be larger sounding than they are, I think I would just step up in the line. And I know that that's a more difficult financial task, especially right now, because June 1, there were price increases across the board with B&O due to the current messed up, situation globally with trade and all that. But jumping up to the 18s, I think I don't know what it is now, but prior to June 1, it was like a $3,000 bump. That would get you more bass. And then, of course, you have the 28s, which is a more substantial bump. But that is a demonstrably different speaker and sound. But for what they are, I think the 8s are just fine. And in most rooms, they hit that 40 hertz mark pretty solidly. That would convince some people that there's enough bass there for most listening. Now, if you want to take everything to 11, then yeah, you probably need a sub. But yeah, I like using the 8s as kind of ancillary soundbar alternatives. Now that the 50s are here, they're actually going to become our surround speakers. And that was kind of the reason why, following the 8 review, I saw a need to kind of hang on to them, because I want to build out a much, much larger kind of system, which we're doing. So hope that helps. Let's see. Brian Ruby, I'm watching the show while cleaning out my garage. I just wanted to say I appreciate you both and wish you a great summer. Brian, when you're done, I will sure take the help in cleaning out my garage. Can't get anyone to want to help me clean out the garage. The installers,
Imagine that.
I know, the installers were here on Wednesday, and these are people we've come to know, and they drive a considerable distance to come visit us and help take care of our system and whatnot. But they came down. They've never been in our garage, and the guys at Watt walked in, and boy, they were like, "Holy bleep!" I was like, "Yep, this is what it's like being a YouTuber." So anyway, good luck with the garage, Brian. Good luck with the garage. Where did I leave off? Okay. Hey there, I just bought B&W 702 S3s for LCR, left center, right. Okay, 702 S3s. For 702 S3 and 706 S3 for surrounds, and SVS Ultra Elevation for heights. I have an AV10. Not sure about Amp 10, if it can drive 9 B&Ws. Could you recommend amps to go with my 9.2.6? The Amp 10, is that the new one? Is that the new one, the Amp 10?
I think so.
Okay.
Isn't that the one we just...
That's the one we have. We haven't obviously done the review of it yet, but it's in-house. I have no reason to doubt that can't drive your speakers properly, but again, I have not dove into the Amp 10 with any real veracity, so I am talking out of just, not my butt, because I have it, but I haven't really put the screws to it yet, so I don't want to give you a false sense of security. I can tell you that when it comes to multi-channel and the 700 series from Bowers and Wilkins, I personally in this house have driven them with great success with our Emotiva XPA Gen 3 amps. It may not be the sonic match for everybody, but in terms of power, horsepower, and ability to take those speakers to their fullest potential, that amplifier can do it. And you can spec it out in 2, 3, 5, 9. I think they go all the way up to 11 channels because it's all that blade architecture now. And it totally does the job. Not to say that maybe the Marantz won't sound a little different or better, or if you went with the multi-channel Macintosh, that would be different or better. But yeah, you could do, I know the B&Ws will be driven by the Emotiva, and I know the Emotivas will be driven by Macintosh's new Hypex-based multi-channel amp. A little bit more expensive, smaller footprint than the XPA. Maybe a little nicer looking, a little classic Mac look. That will work too. And the reason I say that is because their receiver, the Macintosh receiver, while maybe not my absolute 100% cup of tea sonically, drove the 700 series products just fine when we had them here. So those would be some recommendations for you. And I see that you just left another comment. What do you think Parasound versus Rotel versus Macintosh? I was initially considering Amp 10, not sure it can drive all 15 speakers, especially 9 B&Ws. I don't know if the Amp 10 can drive all 15. Maybe it's a 12-channel amp. I can't remember. Parasound is a great company. So is Rotel. I have nothing bad to say about Parasound or Rotel. Parasound, has changed ownership. They haven't made a new product in a little while. So I don't think they're going out of business or anything like that, but they're not a company that does make a lot of new changes rapidly. So it has been a while since I've played with them. But I used to be a Parasound customer, so obviously I voted with my wallet once upon a time because I thought the brand was great. Rotel will drive the piss out of anything. They really will. If you want to get one of their multi-channel amplifiers, I don't think they make a 15-channel amp, so you'd probably have to get two different types of multi-channel amps, but Rotel will work, and like I said, Macintosh will work as well. Kai, is it possible when reviewing TVs, you can include the settings you use when calibrating so we can follow it at home if we own the same model? I always give basic calibration recommendations, but I do not share actual, call it white balance tweaks or things like that, because every TV, when it comes off the line, I'm just going to use this as an illustration or as an example. Let's say Sony makes an XYZ TV. When it's coming off the line, it is checked against the reference standard, and there are tolerances to everything, right? And so let's say that they put their meters to it before it goes in the box, and they're like, hey, this thing falls with plus or minus 3% of our reference. This is an example. I'm not saying these are the tolerance figures for Sony. I'm just using them as an example. Plus or minus 3, it gets boxed up, goes out the door. That's great. And if every TV is plus or minus 3 of reference, you got yourself a good TV. Here's where it gets a little bit dicey, is that let's say TV A is plus 2%, is plus 2% outside of perfect. Still within tolerance, but plus 2%. Let's say TV B is negative 2% outside of tolerance. If I have TV B and I account for that negative 2 to take it to 0, and you take my settings that took my negative 2 to 0 and you apply it to your plus 2, I've just made your TV worse, if that makes sense. Now, whether or not that is subjectively visible to you, it may or may not be. But objectively, measurement speaking, I may have, by giving you like, these are the figures you need to use, I may have actually made your TV worse. Whereas if I say, hey, the cinema profile with brightness at 100% and the contrast or dynamic illumination settings set to like low or medium all measure and seem to keep the TV within the relative standard of calibrated. So those are my recommended just generic out of the box settings. I have a greater chance of ensuring that you're still within the tolerance, if you will, of seeing what Sony wants you to see, what the director, the filmmakers want you to see, the colorists want you to see, the DP want to see. So those are the settings I often share. Now, I don't put up like some graph on the screen where it's like, do this, do that. I verbally say them out. So you do have to kind of follow along, but I try not to do higher, I'm going to call it higher level, like 2-point or 20-point white point or color adjustments. And the other reason I don't do that is sometimes people don't really know what they're looking at, and they can accidentally go into the wrong menu, or they can accidentally make a change to their product. I'm not saying this is you, but they could accidentally make a change to their product and hurt the product or hurt the longevity of the product, or just not know how to undo it, to be honest, you know? And so I try and keep things a little bit more, I don't want to say surface level, but just every day, like this, you'll be fine. Like we have a TV review coming up next weekend that I'm blown away. And before anyone's like, I bet it's the TCL. No, I went out and I bought this TV with my own money. I had no preconceived anything. I had no expectations, none. Blown away. I'm at a loss for what this TV is showing me. Anyway, and next weekend, if you guys tune in for that one and you happen to see it, hey, nears makes no difference. This TV might be pixel perfect from the factory. At least in my experience, and I bought mine at retail, so there's no, you guys can just park all the panel lottery conspiracy theories on that one, because I just rocked up to the store and they put it in the truck. All right, let's see, got a brand new set open box, Bravia 7 85 for $1,500. Damn, dude, that's a great price. I'm blown away. Thanks for recommending the 9, but the price was a no-brainer at Best Buy. It gives me some time to see what Sony brings out next year. An 85-inch Bravia 7 for $1,500, you scored. You scored. I will not be surprised if, not to say that the 9 isn't worth the little bit of an upcharge, but if you got it at that price, it could be several years before you are even remotely tempted to upgrade or change. Sir Holmes, I haven't bought a HiFi bookshelf speaker because I'm scared of not liking the sound. Any recommendations? I don't want to hear the crossover limiting the sound. 3K limit. You don't want to hear the crossover limiting the sound. And you're scared of not liking the sound. First of all, what do you have now? Because if you have something now and it makes you happy, why do we need something else? And then second of all, if we need something else, what are the reasons we need something else? And third, if you have something already, why not get the bookshelf? And it's not a bookshelf. Why not get the bookshelf version of what you're used to? It stands that you would have the best opportunity or chance to maybe experience more of, quote, the same, if that helps you. But yeah, other than that, $3,000 bookshelf, boy. I mean, the bookshelf speakers that I like, I mean, I love our Sonos Faber Lumina 2s a lot. I think those are really fabulous. 3,000, I mean, for me and my personal taste, I mean, you can get the SVS Revolution. Because of their shape, they have a really nice coherence. Great scale. Let's see, 3,000. You probably pick up the Q Acoustic Concept 300s.
No, those are
Are
more.
Are you sure?
Yeah, they're silly expensive considering
The
how
Concept
old they are.
300s?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. If there is a pair floating around, that's a great bookshelf speaker.
I mean, what about the Bowers and Wilkins, like the 703?
You could get 700 series B&W for $3,000 a pair all day. Yeah. And I mean, if you don't want to hear the crossover, you don't want to hear limitations, you could also look at active two-way bookshelf speakers. I mean, HiFi is just a term that people arbitrarily give something. But you could go with Sonus Faber Sonettos. That's two-way bookshelf speaker that sounds wicked big. $3,000. You're in Kef. You're in Kef territory. I mean, I think the Kef R3 Meta is $3,000 a pair, and that's a three-way speaker. That's a true three-way bookshelf speaker. And then, of course, there's the cheaper Kef Q Meta bookshelf, which is also a three-way, but I think that's $18.99 a pair. If you like neutrality, you know, you seem to be someone that, you know, I don't want to hear crossover limitations. You might be someone that's a little bit more on the measurement side. Kef is bound to please, if that's the case. So yeah. Let's see. Let me, it jumped on me. No. Let's see. So, sir, I hope that helps you. Mo, currently have a Marantz Cinema 50. Great. And two Emotiva XPA 7 Gen 3s, driving a 5.4.4 system. What AVR would you recommend so I can take advantage of the XLR inputs on the XPA 7? I think at this point, you have two XPA 7s and you're running 9 speakers. I think at this point, you might be a candidate for a processor. You might want to look at Emotiva's own processors. You might want to look at Marantz's processors, the AV10 or the other one, whatever it is, the AV10, AV20. Because you already have the juice. It's, you know, in the separate amps. Like, you're in the separates party now. So I think the next logical step for you might be a standalone processor, in which case Emotiva makes some great ones. Marantz makes great ones. Integra, if there's, I think there's, yeah, Integra makes a great one. So that is what I would look at. Let's see. Do you think direct art can negate the need of room treatment for optimized sound? Also, will 4 subwoofers be considerably different? With 2 subwoofers, I have 2 SP17s. Do I think direct art can negate the need for room treatments and optimized sound? I can't say that for certain. I haven't played with it yet. In my opinion, you can do a lot with room correction, and the more time and money and technology that is being developed for room correction, the better it's getting. However, there are certain things that you just can't do entirely using DSP, EQ, or whatever. Not to say that the addition of room treatments allow you to do those things, because sometimes it's as simple, and I think I've mentioned this in the last couple of videos, sometimes it's as simple as just changing your seating position or your speaker's distance relative to your seating position. You know, and the reason why I bring that up is it's possible that if you sit in a certain spot in your room relative to where your speakers are placed, that you're sitting in a dip or a null, in which case EQ may be able to grab that frequency or set of frequencies and boost it to make that null seem less apparent. However, in doing so, you may start to clip your amplifier. You may create or invite distortion, when in reality, simply moving your speaker a foot or two front or back, side to side, or your chair closer, blah, 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 you get the point, may raise that dip without applying any EQ or DSP or whatnot, in which case now the software doesn't have to work as hard and your room is more optimized for your sound. as it relates to you specifically. And no amount of treatment is necessarily going to get rid of that peak. Treatment doesn't add energy. Now, you can bring the energy down and the frequencies around it, maybe through treatment, but now you've kind of tamped down on other aspects of the room's sound. So acoustics is an art form. It's science, but it's also an art form, and it's knowing when to apply, when to back off, when to balance everything out. But it all starts with placement. It all starts with the room, where you want to be, and then where everything else can be relative to you as it relates to the room. Then from there, maybe you apply treatments, maybe you don't. Maybe furniture, rugs, just living your daily life is enough to bring some of those problem areas down a bit or into better focus, at which point then DSP, room acoustic, things like Dirac, they're the special sauce on the top. I try not to rely too heavily or make products like Dirac handle all of the problems. If that's the realm I'm in, then I try and rethink what I'm doing. As for will 4 subwoofers be considerably different than 2 subwoofers, it all depends on your room, and it all depends on how even of bass you want to disperse over how large of an area. If it's just you and you're just in one spot and you never move and this is just it, you don't need 4 subs, in my humble opinion. You can get 1 or 2 subs to dial you in. But if you're talking about, no, I seat 12 people in my theater and I want all 12 people to have the best bass experience, then yeah, 4 subs is likely going to be a way different experience across all of those seats than 2, if that helps you. Triple X. Hello, Andrew, Kristi. I hope all is well with the family. Any plans to review those Rockville Rock Tower 68Ds I mentioned a few months back? I did look them up. They're not on my immediate plan. I did look them up. I now know what you're talking about. I see the value. Let's just keep it real. I am so backlogged right now that I'm honestly not really requesting too many pieces at the moment. I have enough gear in-house, in hand, to take me through the rest of the summer, if not beyond. So I'm really trying to minimize my requests at this time. And also because I'm trying to leave gaps in the schedule open for things that may be coming up here soon that we have to accommodate, things like maybe little minor construction projects and things like that. So I am aware, I saw them, I read about them, I can see the appeal. However, they're not on the schedule at this time. Sir Holmes, follow-up question. I have bookshelf speakers with a 5-inch woofer. The Sonus Faber Lumina has a 6-inch woofer, but a smaller box. Do you think I would lose fullness in the singer's voice? I have no idea. That is incredibly difficult for anyone to be able to answer. That's not you. Because I don't know exactly what you are responding to, what you're worried about from what you have now versus going in a different direction. We're starting to get into a much more, and I'm not saying this in a negative way, we're starting to get into a much more personal conversation here. And this is something that it's what do you want for yourself? Because I can say that the Lumina 2s are great bookshelf speakers, same as a B&W 700 whatever, or a Radiant Acoustics, or a KEF if you're more measurement focused. But I can't guarantee that those are going to be the thing that does it for you. You may try one of those 4 speakers, compare it to whatever you have with a 5-inch woofer and go, Andrew's crazy. Am I crazy? Or are you just really used to something? Or it turns out you just really like what you already have and you thought you needed to upgrade when you really didn't. So it's hard for me to say, do you think you would lose fullness? I have no idea. I have no idea. If your room loads bass, then no, you wouldn't. But if your room is anemic or you're sitting in a null, it's possible the Sonus Faber could sound anemic when in my room it doesn't. So there's all these sorts of variables that we're starting to have to contend with. But the biggest variable in this equation is, you. It sounds like you're wanting something, and the only person at that point that can tell you, is this what you want, is you. Love the channel and excited to see where it goes. Okay, I have to ask, does Kristi sing at all? Her voice is super unique, parentheses, coming from a fellow Texan, kind of like a female David Rawlings. Let's get her a record deal. Okay. Do you sing, babe?
You know what? I love to sing, but I wouldn't say I'm a good singer.
Do you have rhythm?
Yeah, I think so.
You got rhythm?
Yeah.
You have good dance rhythm. We make up songs, like I make up Katie songs when we're going to bed and stuff, or when we're making coffee. Like I make up coffee songs, I make up stuff, and then she tries to do it. She's getting better. She's getting better. The first time she made up a song, I was like, what?
Well, I wouldn't say those songs are in any sort of attempt to sound good.
Oh.
They're just silly.
Okay.
They're very silly.
Well, then on that level, I haven't heard you sing.
You haven't heard me sing.
You don't sing.
I sing all the time.
Not really. I mean, you hum along, or I don't think singing along to Beastie Boys when Beastie Boys is playing at 105 dB constitutes as Pavarotti over here.
No, I'm not trying to be Pavarotti, okay? My range is pretty limited.
What's it limited to?
I don't know.
I don't know.
It's not Pavarotti range,
All right.
okay?
We'll have to get you that record deal.
Who's David Rawlings? Anyone want to tell me no?
David Rawlings. That sounds familiar off the top of my head. I can't recall. All right.
You can be taught to sing. If you can hold a note, you can be taught. I think I can. I can sing. I think everyone can sing.
I don't know if I go that far.
But can they sing well? That's the question. I don't think I have a bad voice. But, as I said a few seconds ago, my range is limited. So, Pavarotti does Sabotage. That would be funny. And I miss the Beastie Boys.
All right. Kai with the TV questions today. When testing TVs, could you test anime alongside your usual game and movie tests? As an anime fan, contrast and color accuracy is so important to make a scene pop. Recommended latest Demon Slayer episode. Kai, I will do my best. To be perfectly blunt, while I am a fan of anime, and while I was a much bigger fan of anime in high school and college, it's been a minute since I've watched anything more current. So it's not something that is on normal rotation. Though the other day, I was watching the anime version of Ghost in the Shell, and I was like, oh yeah, this was good stuff back then. I will do my best, but I don't want to make promises I can't keep. But thank you for the tip. I'll see what I can do. Let's see. Do you think Bose is the last stop for Macintosh? Oh boy, that's so hard to say. That is so hard to say. I want everyone to succeed. I really do. I don't like it when things don't go according to plan, or when things turn out to be ultimately bad moves, and you start to hear of horror stories and scrambling and all of that. Like I really, really, really want everyone to succeed. Because we need them to. We need them to. Let's be frank. As much as some people may dislike the concept of, ultra luxury brands or higher end brands or higher prices or things like that. It doesn't change the fact that if you like this hobby and you like the community and the ability to chat with one another, whether it's on this channel or a forum or a Discord or whatever, you need all of this to kind of work, and you need it to succeed. So is it the last stop for them? I don't know. In my professional lifetime, I have now, Macintosh has been owned by 5 different people in the 25 years that I've been doing this professionally. So it's hard for me to say it's the last stop for them. I just hope that whoever owns them, Macintosh is able to thrive. And that's how I feel about any brand. I don't want any brand to go under. Kyle Smith, I use vintage Utah speakers in my living room, and I have a hard time replacing them due to the 15-inch drivers, the massive scale, and easy bass. Did you have similar experience with the Pitt and Giblins? I will say this, and this is kind of a universal thing for me, is if a speaker, regardless of the complement of drivers, the size of drivers, the power behind them, if a speaker can tickle the reaches of that like 20 hertz, 25 hertz realm right, with good speed, accuracy, texture, and nuance, whether it's an active speaker or a passive speaker, if it can do that, those speakers are incredibly hard. Once you've had them, once you've experienced them, they're incredibly hard to go without. It's one of the most impressive and immediately sort of captivating aspects of a speaker's performance that we take for granted. For the same reason when I reviewed the SVS subwoofer a couple months ago, and I said, it's a cheat code, and that it's not that I had the subwoofer doing a lot of heavy lifting. It was really just fleshing out that very, very bottom octave and giving everything that last little bit of dimension and physicality in room. And when you have that, when you experience that, like everything else sounds pedestrian, anemic, fake, and the Pitt and Giblins delivered that. The BeoLab 90s, holy smokes, delivered that. The BeoLab 50s behind me deliver that. Not to say that you can't do it with Bookshelf and a good sub, properly placed and dialed in, but there's something about it all being in one spot that's kind of nice. So I had a very similar experience with the Pitt and Giblins, for sure. Let's see. DV, I have a pair of KLH 5s, KEF Q6 Meta Center. I was intrigued by your suggestion of using a Model 3 as a center. In the age of direct, does it matter to keep a similar speaker voicing? Thanks. I mean, it can help. There are certain things about, tonality, timbre, whatever word you want to ascribe to it, that may be audible to some people that may be more sensitive to changes in that, in which case it stands to reason that something like the Model 3 using similar materials inside and out stands a greater chance of being comparable in tone to that of the Model 5. And then room correction like Dirac or Odyssey can kind of take that last couple of percentage and make it good. But does it ultimately matter? I mean, maybe not. Maybe not ultimately. As you add more speakers, it does become a little bit more difficult to hear and discern differences in tonality, which is why I'm sure a lot of hi-fi people tend to look at home theater enthusiasts and be like, it doesn't matter what you do, you can't, you can, but it does become harder, and it doesn't become less important, but you can get away with a little bit more when you're kind of spreading the sound around and asking speakers to do very specific things, as opposed to just 2 channels kind of being charged with doing all of the heavy lifting. So Model 3 as a center, I think that would be a great idea, especially if you really like your Model 5s. I'm sure you can pick up a Model 3 pretty cheaply now. Give it a shot. If you don't like it, return it. but give it a shot. I purchased Monitor Audio Gold 300s, 5.1.4, Rotel Marantz Cinema 40. Do you think a separate component for 2-channel music streaming connected directly to the Rotel would be noticeably better than HEOS through the Marantz? In my opinion, it's going to all depend on two things. The first being, if you don't like the HEOS user experience, then a separate streamer from anybody is going to provide you with a different experience, user experience, and that can be the difference maker. That's number one. Number two, if you're just using the streamer as a source and you're not relying on its DAC, meaning you're going to go out of the streamer optically, coaxial, a digital connection, USB, whatever it is, then sonically, is there going to be a huge difference? There may not be. I will always leave a little bit of room for yes, but the likelihood is there won't be. Now, if you take a streamer and you use the DAC built into the streamer and you go analog out into the analog inputs of your Marantz, are you going to hear a difference over the Marantz? It's very possible you would. But now we're not really talking about, is the streamer different than the Marantz? We're talking about, is the DAC inside the streamer now different than the DAC to the digital analog conversion inside your Marantz? And it's not so much about the streamer per se. So those are two things to keep in mind. But if you are just like, man, HEOS as a user experience, like I just don't really care for that, then yeah, anything is going to be a different, arguably different experience. Whether or not that's better, that is going to be up to you. Chris Veltman, Kristi, Audio Schmadio. For a second there, I'm like, what brand is this? Audio Schmadio. What are you enjoying that is new to you? Cooking, origami, paragliding, Scrabble. Like, what are you enjoying, Kristi? While I take a sip.
Oh gosh. Well, I'm not into cooking or any of that other stuff.
You're into. You're not maybe not into cooking, but you're definitely into recipes for me to cook.
Oh, for sure.
For sure.
For sure. Chris, I can tell you, we just watched the Department Q, or I think, isn't that what it's called?
Yeah,
Q
Department
Department.
Q. Yeah,
on Netflix, and I really enjoyed that show. I've really just been trying to stay calm. I have some medical things going on that are still up in the air, and they could be serious. They may not be serious. Sorry to be cryptic, but I haven't really been able to focus on much. So I'm mostly just trying to be distracted, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's been a rough year.
Yeah, it's been kind of tough. So just I'm enjoying the 50s that have come through the past couple of days. They've been a nice surprise. They're beautiful. They look I love how they look in our room. Let's see, what else have I been trying to focus on? You have been doing awesome with the gym and your health. You've been doing a lot of research in the design of the gym. Like, you found, oh my God, guys, she has found some equipment that you've been designing some pretty cool spaces. Yeah, I mean, what's weird is I've been thinking a lot about time and, whether it's healthy to make plans. But Andrew has been such a rock and, helping me stay grounded and letting me know that it's okay to make plans. And so I've done some, I like to play on this design program. What is it called, babe? Space Designer 3D.
Yeah, it's a web-based CAD program.
Yeah, I've built an entire house.
Several.
I'd like to see our room changed and open up this wall behind Andrew and have like a whole like window door. You know what I'm talking about, guys, right?
Yeah, the window directly over my shoulder here. Obviously, in our A camera, you see the other one over there. We're looking at merging them into like a wall of windows.
Yeah, so that's what I've been kind of focused on. But beyond that, it's not been easy. YouTube is being stupid today. It just crashed on me.
Uh-oh.
So yeah, Chris, I appreciate the question. It's nice to not be asked about audio everything all the time, even though I know that's what most people want to hear about. So, gosh, I got my YouTube crashing kind of threw me all out. Did I answer the question?
I think you did. I think you did.
Yeah.
Chris, we appreciate the comment. We do, and the check-in. So thank you. I'm going to, if it's okay with you, babe, I'm going to get to another question.
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is it a, quote, waste to have the BioLab 50s on the sides of a TV? Do they work well if placed freely on a room, given the sculptural aesthetic they have? No, I can say even in 48 hours, it is not a waste to have them as stereo mains on either side of a TV. And the 50s, much like the 90s, have the capability to direct their sound because there are drivers on all three sides of different degrees. And so you can create, now we haven't done this yet, but you can create listening zones where you are essentially steering the sound towards whatever particular region of the room or your home that they're in. And it would be possible to steer the sound kind of at a 45-degree angle towards our kitchen and still enjoy stereo imaging with them on either side of our TV. That's one of the really cool things about the BioLab 90 and the BioLab 50, more so than other Bang & Olufsen speakers. And that's one of the other things that makes them kind of really super versatile. So do they work freely in a space? More than likely they do. This is the only place that I've heard them in our house so far. And I can just say, like I said, over 48 hours, like they work very well on either side of a TV. And I can't wait for kind of phase 2 of this project when I'm able to create, quote, zones elsewhere in our open concept using these speakers, because I think that's going to be really, really, really good. We just have to get a few other things installed here first to really dial that in, because our house is old and we're going to have to retrofit some of the networking and whatnot that will make that far more automated than what I can experience right now. Let's see. Corey became a channel member. Thank you, Corey. Daniel, love the channel. Bought my first speakers based on your review of the Yamo C97 2s. Love them. What's your thoughts on JTR speakers? I'm curious. Oh, Daniel, I appreciate that. Those Yamos are deep cut, and I love them still. As far as my thoughts on JTR, I don't have any. I honestly have never heard them. I've never been in their physical presence. I can only tell you what my knee-jerk reactions are based on their photos and based on their specs. I am sure that they provide a big, bold, bombastic, maybe even nuanced theater-like sound. I'm sure for surround sound home theater and maybe even hi-fi, they are exceptional. Would I say no to a review? No, I'd review them if they were offered. Physically, design-wise, they don't inspire me. I'll be blunt. And maybe that will shoot me right in the foot for ever doing a review if this ever gets back to JTR. They don't inspire me. I also think that given the price points that they're hitting, they probably produce the volume and the physicality of sound for the price, but I want a level of finish that they're not currently providing. And in a lot of ways, they kind of seem to be reminiscent of, say, some, like, I'm not saying they're the same or that the sound would even be comparable. Again, I haven't heard JTR, but they strike me as like a Tecton alternative, you know, very dynamic, very efficient, a lot for a little, but in a big cabinet. So that's kind of where I'm at with them. I would love the opportunity to hear them be proven wrong. Not that I think I'm saying anything negative. I'm just saying that physically they're not my cup of tea, but I would welcome the opportunity to hear them. My Bro 3 Audiolab 6000A setup lacks scale room filling capacity. No room for surround, just want 2.1. Would Bro 10s fill the room better? Need white or warm wood tones? Other aesthetic options. Why not add a small subwoofer to your 6000A's preamp outputs and just stick with your Bro 3s? I'm not familiar with that line, to be honest with you. So I'm not as familiar. I know we reviewed their towers a while ago, but I don't want to go out on a limb and say that I know all there is to know about that line. My gut is saying you said 2.1, but you don't mention a sub. So if you are open to a subwoofer, I would go there. I would try that versus just getting slightly larger scale speakers. You might be surprised at what a sub can do for what you already have. Kai, if your Q990F loan is accepted, will you be getting the frames too, since you can now sync up to 2 of them with the soundbar and the TV with Q Symphony? We are going to be at the mercy, Kai, of what Samsung wants to put together. Sometimes when we're approached or when we request stuff, we don't always get what we ask for, or they're like, oh no, this is the system we're willing to send. And we just have to take it at face value. So I don't know. I don't know exactly what we're going to get. And I won't know, honestly, until UPS or FedEx drops it off. Sorry. Corey, how do you protect your gear from pet hair? I've got 2 dogs, huskies. I'm worried about getting hair into heat vents or speaker ports. I'd love to hear what you and Kristi do with Katie around. Well, we vacuum religiously, so that does cut it down.
And and she gets groomed once a month.
She gets groomed every 30 days and gets a full blowout. So we do not have a lot of hair tumbleweeds building up anymore like we used to years ago, before we just committed to, like, no, we're just going to do this regular grooming. The other thing, there's 3 things that I do, 3 things that I use. 1, I have a USB rechargeable air gun that I pretty much blow the tops of all of our gear and speaker grills and stuff off maybe twice a week, definitely before filming. So I use that, and I was using the compressed air for like computers and stuff, but I was going through those quite a bit. And so Kristi found me a air gun on Amazon. Maybe she still has a link to it, with interchangeable nozzles, and the interchangeable nozzles will impact the forcefulness of the air, but it cuts down on waste, and it's just a little plastic gun. I use that. I have a drawer of microfiber cloths, and I find that microfiber cloths there's this type of spray. It's a glass cleaner. Comes in a blue tin a blue, blue tin. It's like the most generic white foamy, streak-free glass cleaner, like janitor special. Excuse me, janitor special. A spritz of that onto the microfiber cloth. Really let it absorb in, and just like quick light wipes across face plates and stuff like that. Not only takes every little speck of dust off, but I find that it kind of, this is subjective, but for me, it does seem to repel things for a minute or two. I can at least make it a day or two before needing to like blow stuff off or whatever. And then I just picked up a rug rake. I'm calling it a rug rake. That, oh my gosh, like I don't recommend going too crazy with it, because I do think it does pull up rug fibers along with hair and stuff that even vacuums miss. But wow, we pulled some stuff out of our rug even after using our Dyson, and I typically think our Dyson does a really good job. So those are the things that I use to keep hair to a minimum. I went with the Focal 300 in-wall and love them. I'm going to go up in channels and need a new receiver. Our room is awful with 13-foot ceilings holding the non-LCR. What receiver room correction would you go with? Look, for the most problematic rooms, I'm Team Dirac. I really am. You can get that in an Onkyo RZ70. Since you're going with a lot more channels, you could go with an Onkyo RZ70. You get Dirac built in. That's a great receiver. The Marantz Cinema 30, you are going to have to pay for Dirac, which is an extra $299, I think it is. Also a great receiver. My only other probably recommendation for a receiver that spatially can do some fun things is the Sony 5000 or 7000 ES. Those would be my three go-tos in this particular situation. Hi guys, seen the new Marshall soundbar called the Heston 120, believe. Seems like a solid contender to the Arc Ultra. I have now seen photos of it. I haven't seen it in person. I don't even know who we would contact to try and get a sample in-house. Marshall is not a brand that we've ever dealt with, and I don't know if it's Marshall or if it's Marshall in name only and it's actually a completely different brand. But I have seen it. It's interesting looking. How it compares to an Arc Ultra, no idea. Vadim writes, okay, so of all the hobbies in the world, what is one hobby for each of you that you would absolutely never try ever? And what's one you really want to but haven't gotten to it for every reason? I know which one I would never try ever.
Wait, I'm sorry, I'm catching up.
Okay.
What is going on? I don't know if anyone else has noticed this, but typically when you watch a live stream live, there are no ads. If you watch it once the live stream's over, then YouTube puts in ads.
Is it putting in ads?
Yes. It has interrupted my stream, like, this is probably at least the third time.
Oh, guys, I apologize for that. There must be a setting that...
I'm not on premium, correct, Corey, I'm not on premium.
Okay.
But even in the past...
I normally have that turned off on the live streams, or I have it set to manual. There may have been an update, and I'm so automatic with these streams that I...
Maybe missed it?
I missed it. Guys, if there's ads, I apologize. Are people complaining?
No one's complained, which is kind of surprising. But Darren Kirby says, yep, I've been getting mid-rolls also.
Okay. Just full disclosure, normally I have the mid-rolls set to manual. When this stream is over, I will go into the dashboard and see if a recent update maybe changed my settings. And if so, that's on me. Sorry. Like I said, the stuff tends to be kind of automatic for me at this point, so it's not something I routinely go back and check. But if you're seeing mid-rolls, that has to be a setting that has gotten changed on YouTube's end because it's not something I've ever felt the need to adjust. So thank you for bearing with me. Thank you for bringing it to my attention. And I apologize if you're getting excessive ads. That's not what I want. So back to Vadim's question.
Yes. So what is it?
For each of us, a hobby you would never ever attempt to do and a hobby you would like to do. Not necessarily for a channel.
A hobby.
But something that you've always wanted to do and something that you never want to do.
Oh, gosh.
I know what I never want to do.
Okay, say it.
I don't want to ever take up skydiving.
Oh, I was thinking the same thing.
Contrary to everyone else who has had positive skydiving experiences, I have more people in my life with negative skydiving experiences than I have positive ones, including one time a chute not opening and them coming very close to dying. So that's not something I ever want to do.
You know what I would also not, those like bungee jumping things where people do it on vacation and it's over some like steep gorge or something?
Yeah.
Where they're dropping hundreds of feet?
Yeah.
No, I have no interest in that.
I've done the, it's not bungee jumping where they're like at the ankles. I've done like the waist thing with like the pulleys and it's more like the world's largest trampoline thing. Yeah. That was enough for me. Like I don't really even like loopy roller coasters, to be honest with you. I like roller coasters, but there's something about my brain, it sees loops and I like psych myself out. Although, lo and behold, last time we were at Disney World, which was 5 years ago, they had that Aerosmith roller coaster that was all in the dark, and that had loops in it, and I had no idea. So apparently if I can't see it, I'm fine with loops. I don't know.
You're talking about the rock and roll?
Yeah, the rock and roll roller coaster.
Oh, that was so much fun.
That was so much fun. I don't think it's there anymore. So, but anyway, I don't want to do skydiving.
Would you do auto racing?
Oh, hell yeah, I have. Not like, okay, I haven't done auto racing in the official capacity where it's like I'm donning a suit and a helmet and all that, but I've done track days. Shoot. If I had all the money in the world, I would probably be one of those like recreational, like vintage car racer guys, or who's like, I don't want like their career or anything. I don't want like their life or anything, but like Patrick Dempsey, like he's like on the side, and even Keanu Reeves to a certain extent. I think Keanu Reeves is in the Toyota circuit, but like they are legitimate, like really good drivers and racers, and they go to the events and stuff like that. Like I like that stuff a lot. I would totally do that. Those are my two. I don't want to do skydiving, but I would love to be an amateur race car driver. That would be fun.
I would like to be maybe an interior designer. I think that would be a lot of fun. I have a passion for design and architecture. I would, if I had the money, the funds, I would collect watches and bags, vintage things.
Okay.
More in like the fashion realm. Oh God, another ad. Dude, this is bad. Nothing like cooking or anything like that. I want to be catered to.
Truer words have.
I told Andrew about a couple of weeks ago, that I would be an excellent rich person.
You would. You would be an excellent rich person. We were watching. I started following this Formula One photographer on YouTube. He's an older English gentleman. And yes, he does cover Formula One news, and he covers Formula One events because he's there. I think he's an official F1 photographer.
He is. He's an older guy. British, I think. It's a really fun channel to watch.
In between Formula One assignments, he does like, hey, this is a great hotel in Monaco. This is a great plane, because he's obviously around billionaires. And he's a very down-to-earth guy. He's not flexing or anything like that. But his last video, which was like 2 days ago, was of a ship that docks in Monaco for Formula One. And it basically turns into a floating hotel for that week. And this ship was gorgeous. And we were watching that video. And neither Kristi or I are like pro cruise. Nothing against people that want to cruise. It's not something that we have generally looked at and been like, hey, that looks like the thing for us. But yeah, no, I'd go on that boat. And that was when you would say, I think that's around the time you said, I would make an excellent rich person.
What's that company, the boat company, Riva, that you've been drooling over?
If any of our European fans have a connection with Riva, I would really, 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 really love an introduction. I just want to walk some of their products, the craftsmanship of their yachts, and heck, they're I don't want to call them speed boats because I think that's actually kind of, I don't want to say derogatory, but it underplays what they are. But man, and I'm sure there's probably somebody right now that's like, their boats are Italian junk, just like cars, and they fall apart. I don't care. They're gorgeous. They're gorgeous. And I am obsessed with their boat.
We're just obsessed with like fine craftsmanship.
Yeah.
And service.
Customer service, craftsmanship, attention to detail, the little things that even you don't even like know to notice. That stuff makes a huge difference. Huge difference. So yeah, Riva. Whew. Riva. If any of you guys have connections to Riva, I'll take you up on it. Okay, let's, are you interested in the, Caladan open baffle speakers? I think these are some of the best looking speakers out there. Would love for you to review. I'm not familiar. That isn't to say that I'm not interested. I'm just not familiar. I would have to Google that. I genuinely or generally like open baffle speakers, so I'm not opposed. I just don't know anything about them. Not sure if anyone's asked, what are your thoughts on the upcoming Klipsch Flexus 300 and the new surrounds and subs? Do you plan on reviewing it?
The new Flexus? What are they even talking about?
Look, we got the Flexus something, or I think we got all of Flexus stuff before launch, and we were starting to review it, and the system wasn't done. Like, it wasn't possible for us to complete the review because we ran into so many bugs with the software, and we let Klipsch know that, hey, like, when are you going to fix this? Are you addressing this? Are you aware of this? And I spoke to people in their technical, not even their technical department, but like the guy and in charge of like the development of the sound bars. I talked to him once or twice on the phone at length, gave him all my notes, gave him things that they were able to recreate. And they said that they were, looking into it and stuff. And we sent it all back because it wasn't ready for a review, to be honest. I didn't know when it was going on sale. I didn't know if we had beta copies or what. And then lo and behold, they put it on sale. I have no idea if they fixed any of it, but it's not something that I have been approached to revisit. And it's not something that honestly I'm chomping at the bit to revisit because my initial impression of what they sent was kind of really horrific. It wasn't good. Hopefully they fixed it, but I can't. That's my experience. Kai says the TV in the background is quite reflective. Yeah, I mean, it's it's really kind of the angle you're at. When I say you're at, the camera angle relative to the angle of the television and then the window behind me. If I was sitting in front of it and pointing the camera directly at the screen, the level of reflection that you're seeing here is not the same dead on. So you need to be aware of that when you watch visual recreations of a television's performance. The TV is off right now, so it is just a black mirror at this point, and it is a 98-inch mirror. It's the QM7 from TCL. If the TV were on, and I'm not going to turn it on, then it's way less reflective. But sitting in our primary listening spot directly in front of it, this window behind me is not an issue.
Well, and plus we have external lights. We have
Yes.
Andrew has a giant.
There's a giant light here, and there's also a giant light pointing towards the television, just above it to light the background. See if I do this, I'm going to turn the light off behind me, but you can see that this light's still creating a reflection, and that window is creating a reflection. So if I turn the light on behind me, and I turn this one off, you see it's all based on the mirror. No, sorry, not the mirror, but the window behind me in relation to the angle of the camera to now the angle of the television, blah, blah, blah. Alfonso, coffee change. How have you both been? We've been okay, you know. This year's been, if you didn't see earlier, when you go back, we're not going to rehash it, but watch earlier in the stream, you'll get a little bit of an idea. Cliff Notes version. When I went to bed December 31st, 2024, my plan for 2025 looked nothing like how 2025 has so far progressed. Given everything that's happened, I think we're doing pretty damn good so far. And I appreciate all of the love there. Just some Katie snack funds, and thank you. She appreciates it. Boy, does she ever. She now expects a snack in the morning. She waits for her vitamin. For listening SPL, should we use DBA or DBC? You mean like for measurements, like weighted? It's just how quickly they respond to changes. I guess it really depends on what it is you're trying to measure, because it's just kind of how reactive they are to differences. So one will allow you to see more in real time, and the other one will kind of give you a better, like, consistent average, or at least hold on a number long enough for you to see it in layman's terms.
Alfonso says, yeah, not for frequency response, but for listening, SPL should. I don't know if that's related to the question.
I don't know.
Sorry.
No, it's fine. I'm just trying to understand, like, for listening SPL, should we use DBA or DBC? That I don't know how to answer, to be honest with you. Maybe I'm not understanding the question, which is very possible. I am not sleeping as much as I likely should, and that could be on me. But I don't think for just listening, it matters. Just listen or measure or come to the conclusion you want to come to. Big fan of yours from India. What is the YouTube channel name of the F1 photographer? You know what? Let's see. Oh, did you add it?
I replied to your question with a link to the channel. I believe the person's name is Kim Ilman. I don't know. I'm probably mispronouncing it.
Okay.
But they have he has a channel. And I do recommend it. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Because he kind of takes you behind the scenes, and like Andrew was saying, because he gets taken, or he's going to all these F1 events, it seems like he's probably being flown, or his transportation might be covered, or he's paying for it, who knows, and expenses it, but he gets to have some pretty unique experiences, and those are the videos I really like.
Yeah.
But link is in the chat box.
Him and he's a little bit more polished, focused. Like his videos, like I like the Walking with Tim channel a lot. He's another English guy that does hotel stays and reviews them, but occasionally some of his videos, in my opinion, kind of meander a little bit. And I found that this other guy that we started following he gives you that, guy on the street kind of viewpoint of some really exotic locations, but he keeps the pace really, really well. I like that a lot. Katie Snackage support. Thank you. Thank you for your support and your generosity. We love hanging out with you guys too. Really appreciate it. And Claus, I don't know if you meant to ask a question here, but I'm not seeing a question tied to your super chat. Let me pop over here. No, I'm not seeing anything. Oh, Claus, you wrote, I have a pair of mint Bose 601 Mark III and want to replace them with some new ones as I feel they are a dated design. What would be a great alternative? A great alternative to Bose 601s? Gosh, I don't know. I don't know. If you want that more dispersed omnidirectional sound, because that's kind of what the Bose were back in the day, a little bit more of a, I don't want to say ambient, but you know what I mean, like a volumetric sound. You can go with anything dipole. Anything dipole may give you what you're after. Just know that not all dipoles, especially like panel speakers like Magnapan or Martin Logan's, like those aren't going to be as easy to drive as maybe your Bose, in which case now you're into different amplification and power needs. Some of the Definitive Technology towers are dipole, where they fire front and back, can give a more reflected, spacious sound. Trying to think if anyone else is playing with that tech at the moment. That's off the top of my head. But if you like your 601s and they're still working for you, maybe, as long as they're in good nick, nothing wrong with them. Nothing wrong with them. Christian writes, hi from Spain. We love Spain.
We do.
We watch a lot of content about Spain. And you brought something up to me, Christian. I'm getting on. We're going on a tangent here, real quick.
Side quest.
You brought something up about Spain yesterday. They're changing some rules.
I read somewhere that Spain is going to begin taxing non-EU buyers, like taxing property 100%. So if, say, for example, Andrew and I wanted to buy property in Spain, we would be taxed 100% on that. And I guess currently that's not the case. So I'm assuming they're trying to maybe deter some people, or maybe there's been a mass migration.
Yeah.
Spain has a lot of things going for it. I have a very good friend that lives there, and she says the economy's great. They have great health care. Obviously, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
The people are warm.
Food's good.
Food's great. Wine is great. So I hope that isn't the case, because we have dreams of one day maybe living or owning property abroad, or maybe retiring abroad. But
I'm obsessed with is it Marbella?
Oh yeah.
I am upset. There's another YouTube channel, Victoria Goska. She's a realtor in Marbella, and she just does house tours of Marbella homes. And she's appointment viewing for me because the architecture and the design, and we go into the living room and I'm like, that's Minotti, that's Talenti, that's gorgeous. Got to have that. Ooh, could we do that to our house here?
Yeah.
So
We like a lot of modern Spanish architecture. Christian says, yes, it's a law that is proposed, not approved yet. They're trying to solve the housing crisis.
okay.
Okay,
Gotcha.
makes sense.
I'm going to stay on the side quest for one quick second, but I will get to you, Chris. Wirehead says he wants to retire to New Zealand. New Zealand, Australia, because of the YouTube channel and the magazine that I get once a year, Local Project. If you like architecture, holy smokes.
Oh yeah, every time we see something, a cool house on YouTube,
Mm-hmm.
it's always in Australia.
Australia
Always.
or New Zealand. Yeah,
Always. It's like, my gosh.
Yeah. In fact, there was a house just this week that was on Local Project channel where I'm like, they downloaded my thoughts. Like that's my house. Like there it is. Someone built it. Now I have to find them. Okay. Side quest over. Christian, I'm doubting between getting the M1 and the Yamaha RN1000A. M1 with Dirac is similar in price. What's the difference in sound? Well, the M1 is going to be obviously a Class D amplifier. I have not played with Dirac on our M1 yet. I've been a little bit preoccupied, so I can't tell you good or bad what that update does to the M1. The M1 compared to the Yamaha sounds a little bit more forward, a little bit more exacting. I think the M1 has a little bit better sensation of control and immediacy. The Yamaha is neutral, but it's also I don't want to say laid back, because it's not that. It's just there's something, especially when you turn on virtualization inside the M1. The M1 just, it almost makes every speaker kind of resemble a more active sound, a more active speaker sound. And if you're not familiar with powered speakers, that example may not help you. But if you know, you know. Whereas the Yamaha does, it sounds great and it's a great value, but it sounds like a Yamaha integrated. Whereas the M1 can sound like a couple of different things depending on how you set it up. In terms of room correction, the YPOW inside the Yamaha is pretty basic. Not to say that basic is bad, but it is pretty basic, and that is by design. I don't know what flavor of Dirac got updated into the M1. Again, I have not taken our M1, given it the update, and then played with it. That is something that is on my to-do list. But if it is the full boat, there's way more you can do at Dirac than YPOW what's in the 1000. So that's what I have to help you. Kristi, you're right. This was an email reply from Robert Onkyo. You're talking to Dave Apex?
Yeah, I honestly have no idea what it is about. There's just been too much distance between the messages, so just ignore it for now.
Okay. I'll have to catch up on that later. Let's see. I am posting this in hopes that you and Kristi visit the Sphere in Vegas and tell us about it. You know what? I used to go to Vegas twice a year, or once a year, sometimes twice a year, but once a year for CES for like 12 straight years. I'm not the biggest fan of Vegas, to be perfectly blunt. It's not a place that I feel compelled to go to. However, I've seen enough video and scenes from inside the Sphere that I do want to go to the Sphere, if only once. I do want to experience it in some capacity. I saw some YouTube videos of Enema live from inside the Sphere, and that looked awesome. That looked absolutely awesome.
That's the kind of show I would see there.
I would go see a show like that at the Sphere. So if that comes up, if the opportunity arises and our schedule aligns, that would be how you would get to know my thoughts on it. But it's not something that Vegas is. I try to avoid Vegas. Yeah, I do.
It's just like a giant mall. And I don't know. You know what I would really love to do?
What would you really love to do?
I want to go. I've been itching to go to New York
Mm-hmm.
and see some Broadway shows.
You and I have never been to New York together.
We haven't.
We've been to New York plenty individually, but we've never
Correct.
been together. We got to go to New York.
We do. We do. I'd love to see the Good Night.
Oh, that's tonight, by the way.
Oh, it's
The
gonna be
live, the live showing of
George Clooney's
George
Broadway
Clooney's-
play Good Night and Good Luck.
yeah, that's tonight on Max.
I would love to see that. We just watched a YouTube video of the set design.
Architectural Digest.
Oh, it was?
That was AD. Yeah, Architectural
I would
Digest.
encourage you to, if you're into plays and stuff like that,
Mm-hmm.
to check that out. It's really interesting. They show how they created the set, and you get a very close look of all the set decorations that they use, like the newspapers. They have actual film splicing
Splicers, yeah.
equipment
Yeah.
that actually works. And they show how the set moves in and out of place depending on where the scenes are being focused. Anyway, would love to see that in person. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure there's plenty of other projects that would be fun to go see some live entertainment like that.
The Harry Potter thing on Broadway, Tom Felton, who played Malfoy, is joining that cast.
Joining what cast?
The Harry Potter Broadway thing.
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay.
Tom Felton, I read this morning on Variety that I think he joined the cast. So, and Vadim is saying the same thing. Look at that. He will be Malfoy again. Oh, look at that. Let's see. Did I miss something? I think I might be caught up, guys. It's incredible. Look at that. I'm getting better at this. I'm getting better at this. Let's see. How long? Oh my gosh,
Oh,
time.
Hamilton would be so great to see as well. I've seen the streamed version of it.
Yeah.
Even that was just incredible.
God, I'm trying to remember what was the last musical I went to live. I think it was La Boheme. I think Baz Luhrmann's run of La Boheme was the last musical I saw.
Well, that's an opera. I say this because I saw La Boheme in Italy. Hey, Katie.
Katie making an appearance.
In Naples at their opera house, and it was incredible. Absolutely incredible. But the last musical I saw was in New York, and it was at my mom's request because we went there together. We saw Mamma Mia on Broadway. And funny story, I took her to see Dangerous Liaisons. And it starred, oh my gosh, Laura Linney, who I'm a huge fan of, right? And so I'm really big into theater, acting, movies, things like that. So, I thought I was being all highbrow by taking her to see this play, and it was so boring. I could not believe it. I was just like,
Dangerous
oh my
Liaisons?
gosh, it was a snooze fest. And I was so disappointed and kind of embarrassed because, lo and behold, we go to see Mamma Mia, which my mom insisted on, and it was one of the best times I've ever had.
Well, Mamma Mia brings that out, I think, in just everybody that sees it. I mean, hell, when they made it into a movie, they released it as a sing-along, if I'm not mistaken,
The Broadway performance of Mamma Mia was way better than the movie. And I did see the movie before I saw it on Broadway. But it was awesome. It was awesome. It kicked the pants off of Dangerous Liaisons. I was like, oh, what is it? Fuck.
Bleep. We're live.
When you educate someone, what's the word?
When you educate somebody?
Yeah, when you take them to see
Expose them to?
Someone's gonna know what
Okay.
I'm trying to say that I can't think of right now. Anyway, we'll move on.
Okay. A couple of people have asked, this is a Tag Heuer Carrera day date. It's my daily driver. It's the watch you've seen probably for the last 6 months. And I love it. I saw a comment, we're putting Dave came back and said he was emailing Onkyo to send us the new bar when releasing. And Onkyo's reply was, quote, Andrew and Kristi are very important to us. We do work with them ongoing. Have a great day, Roberta. We know Roberta. Roberta is the press contact for those brands, and she is very delightful to deal with, and she does give us access to Onkyo products whenever we ask. So that is what that is in reference to, as far as like the work with them ongoing. There's no quid pro quo or anything like that. It's just if we want an Onkyo product, Roberta is the person that we reach out to and say, hey, is it possible to get our hands on this? And I would say with 99% assuredness, she always facilitates that because she's just wonderful to work with in that way. And she makes at least Kristi's part of the job and even my part of the job very pleasurable because stuff arrives when it's supposed to, and she's very speedy with getting it picked up when we're done bringing you the review. So that is what that's about. Let's see. Oh, here's a question. Any thoughts on Audio Group Denmark? AA Avid Access Bornsen asking for a friend who's also Danish. Audio Group Denmark. Gonna have to Google that really quick here. Audio Group Denmark. Because some of it I'm familiar with. Other stuff, like I know of these brands in name, but I have not had the good fortune of interacting with them personally. I'm more familiar with the name Borenson than anything, but I have no experience firsthand in my space with their products. So that's really all I can offer you on that. Not to say that there's anything wrong with them. There's not. I just don't have an opinion, but I thank you so much for your support and generosity. Let's see. Oh, now we're getting into watches. Turn on the BioLab 50 so we can be delighted with the tweeter. Let's see. If I turn, I don't know if it will rise because there won't be a signal, but maybe. Let's see. You're going to be looking there. Abracadabra. Maybe I have to. There it goes. Ooh. So yeah, that is the omnidirectional tweeter. I'm gonna go ahead and turn everything off, and it'll go back down. There it goes.
So fancy.
Don't say I never did anything for you guys. And that has a narrow and a wide setting. that it's not just the tweeter that does the narrow and the wide. A lot of the voicing, I think, does. Oh, I got a second signal. Now it's going to wait. It's going to go back down. But yeah, it has a wide and a narrow setting, but the voicing of the speaker itself, I do believe, changes a little bit depending on the wide and narrow. So it's not just the gimmick of this, like some people have said in the past. It is markedly different on the whole speaker. Vadim says, I miss those tweeters in Audi cars of old. The S8 with the V10 engine is still my dream car. That's a hell of a car. They look so much more appropriately sized for your room than the 90s did. They are more appropriately sized for our room. Not to say that the 90s were not spectacular and I loved them, but pretty much as soon as these were put in here on Wednesday, I was like, okay, there you go. There you go. You would need a space like Alicia Keys' living room for the 90s, I think, to really sing, you know.
I mean, I thought they sounded great in here.
They sounded awesome in here. I take back what I said.
Yeah, you really should.
I take back what I said as like to really shine. No, they shone. They were amazing. But visually, aesthetically, in this space, how we use it, the 50s are so far a much, much better fit physically. So, yeah, I'm all caught up. Are we still on watches? No. Let's see. Oh, did I miss one? I don't want to miss one because we are running close to the 2-hour mark, and I'm trying my best to keep these around 2 hours. So this is, I'm going to try this. This is last call. Any burning questions or things like that, last call, because we're probably going to go for another 15 minutes or so, and then I'm going to call it. And no sooner do I say that, here it is. Would love your listening impressions of the Concept 50s with the Marantz M1 and the Onkyo RZ30 if you tested either or both combos. Have tested either. It really does depend on, especially now that the M1 has Dirac for stereo, it's really going to depend on what you want to do down the road. If you're just looking for stereo, it would appear that the Marantz M1 for 2.1 is all you're really going to need. And it drives the Concept 50s great. The Concept 50s more neutral tone with that slight roll off in the tweeter really does, if you're sensitive to Class D, that's a great pairing because I don't find anything about the combination of the M1 and the Concept 50s to sound remotely artificial. It's a very natural sound, a very organic sound. Onkyo RZ30, on the other hand, is all about expansion. So if you want to include, the Concept 50s in surround sound, then that's obviously how you do it. And the Dirac inside the RZ30 works wonders with the Concept 50s in a lot of living environments if you're not able to do, things like treatments and whatnot. So, yeah, if you want to just stick with stereo, I would probably steer you towards the M1. But if there was even a chance that you needed greater HDMI switching or expansion into multi-channel, then you should go with the RZ30. But the Concept 50 sound doesn't really change all that much between the two. The Concept 50 is just one of those products that's pretty consistent. It's a really, really, really well-designed speaker. Very well designed. Kay says, how do you make sure to not sit in a peak or a null? I use two methods. The first being I use like virtual room simulators. There's one built into Room EQ Wizard where you're able to basically put a pair of virtual speakers and where your seating position is and just kind of move it around, and it'll draw a sort of estimated graph that, to be honest with you, is more accurate than not. And so whenever I'm walking into a new space, including the first time we ever walked into this room, I played with the little virtual thing while we were waiting for our furniture and stuff to arrive when we moved here. So I had a relative idea, like, hey, if we start the couch here, it's a good jumping off point. And then from there, once I start getting things laid out, or I know at least the seating distance relative to where I think I can place speakers in a room, then I just measure around my listening position, and I go from there. Now, there is a spot on our 9-foot sofa that has a dip, and it's known, and there's nothing I can do about it unless I use a subwoofer that's located elsewhere in our room that's not affected by that dip. But I know about it, and so I know what it sounds like now, and I know how to compensate for it. But that's all through measurements. So measurements matter. At least, I don't really care how a speaker necessarily measures from the factory. I care about how it measures in my room. But measurements also matter in my room because it helps me to better identify where a speaker needs to be placed to overcome known areas that are problematic in my space. So yeah, that's how I do it. Chris writes, "Hi, delight to see you live. What is your opinion on direct art, which is apparently coming soon?" I don't have an opinion on it because I have not yet played with it. I wish I have had the opportunity to play with it by now, but I have not. So unfortunately, I don't have an opinion on it. It sounds really cool. It sounds like something that I would be into, but until I put hands and ears on it, I don't have an opinion. Let's see. I think that is it. Yes, I am all caught up, guys. And look at that. It is 11:30, 2 hours stream. I want to apologize for the ads. As soon as this is done being live, I'm going to go in, check settings to see if that is on me. Yeah. Oh, hold on. Thank you so very much. I don't see a question. Shiny Amato, if you meant to write one, please write it really quick. Joker says, fine to bank this question until the review, but when is it appropriate? Would love to hear about why you went 50s over 28. Trust me, all will be revealed, and it will hopefully make a lot of sense when we're done, because this, not only obviously I want to bring you this review in comparison to the 90 and so on and so forth, this is part of a much larger project that exists for me on a very, very personal level. And hopefully we are able to make all of it happen this year, because it's more than just this room. This is part of a, call it a lifelong endeavor. So you'll be hearing about it soon enough. That is it, guys. That is today's stream. There will be no video on Sunday. We're going to miss a Sunday, but we will be back to our normal schedule next week. So this is it for today. This is it for the week. No video on Sunday, but there will be new content next week. And I think because the schedule is finally evening out and stuff has finally arrived, we won't have to miss any going forward. So there we are. Enjoy the rest of your Friday. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and enjoy your weekend since we're not going to see you on Sunday. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Thank you guys so much for watching the last couple of videos. I know they've been a little bit different, but they've been a lot of fun, and there's going to be a lot more of that kind of stuff coming in. So please stay tuned for that. And yeah, have a great Friday, everybody. And thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
See you soon.